On Wednesday, June 10th of this year, approximately 3:36 in the morning, paramedics assigned to Paramedic Squad 37 in the city of Palmdale were alerted to a possible emergency in a park nearby. While en route to the park, the paramedics from Squad 37 contacted our 911 communications center and asked for additional resources, which included another fire engine company, an ambulance company, and law enforcement, which is a normal protocol for us. Upon arrival of Squad 37 at the scene of the park in the vicinity of 38318 North 9th Street in the city of Palmdale at approximately 3:39 a.m., Squad 37 was first on the scene, and the assisting units arrived thereafter. Upon arrival, there was no one on scene except for the fact that upon arrival, the paramedics found a male hanging from a tree. The two paramedics made an assessment and determined that the patient was deceased. Just for the viewers' understanding, our paramedics, our firefighter paramedics and firefighters go through rigorous training, and the determination to make a determination in the field that the patient was deceased was based on reference 814, which is in the pre-hospital care manual, which gives the paramedics criteria in which to make that determination. I will not get into the specifics of that because it's under investigation. Once that was determined, the incident was turned over to the Sheriff's Department and the Los Angeles County Fire Department, and the members that were unseen from the Los Angeles County Fire Department are fully cooperating with the investigations by the Sheriff's Department. Once again, on behalf of the Los Angeles County Fire Department, our deepest condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Robert Fuller. And thank you, and I will turn the mic now over to Captain Kent Wagner of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Homicide Bureau.
Good morning. My name is Kent Wegener. I'm the captain of Sheriff's Homicide. What I wanted to do is provide some detail regarding the status of the investigation and what is on our list of things to do and to accomplish before the conclusion of the investigation. Initially, we are going to do forensics on the rope that was involved, physical analysis and tests of serology nature by our crime lab. We'll also dissect the involved knot structure to determine how they were tied. We're going to continue with the video canvas to see if we can identify any surveillance video or home video which captures the events around the scene. We will be in contact with the caseworker for the victim, Robert Fuller, from the Department of Social Services. We will be researching his medical history, both locally and in the states of Arizona and Nevada, where we believe he resided for a period of time. We look to contact the witness who located him in the park and those who may have seen him in the past few days prior to his death. We have a cellular phone that belonged to the victim. We are going to do cellular analysis of that, and that is now in progress. I would now like to turn over the mic to Chief Medical Examiner Jonathan Lucas so he could enlighten you about the procedures and the findings of the coroner's office.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Lucas. I'm the Chief Medical Examiner Coroner for the County of Los Angeles. I simply want to start by offering condolences to the family of Mr. Fuller, as well as to his friends and the entire community of Palmdale. It's a tragic and sad death, and we are, as we do in all of our cases, taking this very seriously, and we are doing all we can to find out what happened. Our department first became aware of the death on the morning of June 10th when we were notified by law enforcement shortly after 4 o'clock at 4:12 a.m. A complete autopsy was performed on June 12th, and we are still awaiting results on toxicology at this time. We are also looking into additional historical information, including medical history, trying to learn more about him, and of course, as I mentioned, the toxicology results. We don't have much to release at this time, other than we're going to continue to evaluate the evidence as it comes in, independently make an assessment as to the cause and manner of death, but we will not do that until we have all the history and toxicology and evidence analysis that is currently pending. So with that, I'll end it there.
At this time, we'll take some questions. Moderator, go ahead and cue the phone.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you wish to ask a question, please press 1 and 0 on your telephone keypad. You may withdraw your question at any time by repeating the 1-0 command. If you're using a speakerphone, please pick up the handset before pressing the numbers. Once again, it'll be 1 and 0.
Yes, good morning, and this could be for the sheriff or for Dr. Lucas. Can you explain what the caseworker was for Mr. Fuller? I mean, why did he have a caseworker? Also, both the Sheriff's Department and the ME has said that initial findings rule a suicide, or it was consistent with a suicide. Do you still stick with that assessment? Thank you.
I can take part of that. Yeah, this is Dr. Lucas. I can answer the second part of that question, which was that the initial reports appeared to be consistent with a suicide, but we felt it prudent to roll that back and continue to look deeper, which is why currently, officially, the case is still deferred and under investigation.
I can answer the first part of that question is we have identified the caseworker, but we have not yet interviewed that caseworker. So until we have that information, we won't be able to answer that question.
Thank you. And next, we're going to line.
What sort of evidence was found at the scene? Was there a chair, a stool, something like that to indicate potential foul play? Also, is the AG's office or the FBI Civil Rights Division, are they taking an active role, or are they just monitoring from the sidelines?
On answering the second part of your question, they are taking a monitoring role at this time, and of course, I don't need to remind people, but the LA County Sheriff's Department, our homicide bureau, is considered one of the premier investigative homicide bureaus in the entire nation, and they set the standard nationwide for how to conduct these investigations fairly, impartially, and their nickname are the Bulldogs. They're going to stick to it till they get to the truth of what happened, and their reputation is definitely well established. So they're going to do their job, and we're obviously going to give all the access necessary so we can have the monitoring efforts from both the AG's office and the Civil Rights Division of the FBI. Now, on the first part of your question about the evidence, let me turn that over to you.
Regarding a chair or something similar found at the scene, there was nothing. There was nothing else found at the scene other than the rope, which was used to hang the victim, and the contents of his pocket, as well as a backpack that he was wearing.
Thank you. Next, going to the line of Phil Shuman.
Hi. Quick question is the timetable for this final decision on the manner or cause of death. And then secondly, the larger issue, Sheriff, is given the contentious history between the sheriff's department and the community, how do you gain the trust of people there, in addition to the fact that your investigation is being monitored? But why do you think people will trust you with whatever results you come up with?
Well, I think if you look at the big picture, people trust what the sheriff's department does, by and large. And I know the recent events behind the murder of George Floyd causes a lot of people to rethink their relationship with local law enforcement, but we've been at this for 170 years and we have long-standing ties. We are part of the community. In fact, a lot of the deputies who work in Palmdale and Lancaster are also members of the communities of Palmdale and Lancaster, and that doesn't change overnight because of what happened in another state. So I'm going to reiterate that there are people within the community, unfortunately, there's weather vane politicians that are going to try to take advantage of these times of unrest to try to foment division or distrust between law enforcement and the community, but we are part of the community. And as Sir Robert Peel said in 1850, the people are the police are the people. And we are one and the same, and we're going to continue to be that way. And hopefully, as we're being as transparent as we can be with this investigation and the results, you'll find out that they're going to probably all coincide with the same conclusions once it's done. And I'll refer to the timeline back to you, sir.
Sure. With regards to the timeline, it's difficult to predict, but all I can do is say that we're going to get this done as quickly as we can, as long as we get all of the analyses completed and the toxicology and the history that we need to be confident in a conclusion. So it's hard to predict these things with great certainty, but we're moving as quickly as we can while being as thorough as we can.
Thank you. Next, going to the line of our...
Hi, thank you. Yes, I was wondering if you could explain to me, in more detail, what factors led you to initially label the death of Robert Fuller as a suicide? And second, if you could answer whether there have been other instances of similar suicides within the county of hanging in public, and if this is something that has been a common trend, and why you would have made this assumption that this is a suicide. Thank you.
This is Dr. Lucas again. I can just speak in very general terms that in general, a suicide in public or hanging in a public place is not unheard of. They do occur, and I think initially there wasn't any evidence or information that led us to believe that there was anything other than a suicide, but that changed very. I should say we felt better that we should look into a little more deeply and carefully, just considering all the circumstances at play. But I don't have numbers for you, but I do know that hangings in public suicides do occur with some regularity.
Thank you. And next, going to the line of Josh King, Los Angeles Daily News.
Thank you. I just wanted to follow up on the previous question that was asked. I guess I'm wondering if sheriff's investigators, can anyone describe the initial scene in more detail and talk about why the death was ruled or was initially looked at as a suicide? Was it, I guess in investigators' estimation, was there anything that, led them to suspect that? Was like the positioning of the body, the rope that was used? Yeah, what specifically led to the determination that this looked like a suicide? Yeah, thank you.
So we'll just be. This is Dr. Lucas again. I just want to be clear. There was not an official determination of suicide, although initial signs seemed to point that direction. The death certificate never said suicide, and we have appropriately deferred the cause and manner of death for the additional investigation. So often in any investigation, there is an initial impression, but that the investigation and the analyses that follow will inform the final conclusion. That's where we are right now.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. So my question is about both these communities have kind of documented history of neo-Nazi activity. I know that Palmdale, there was a U.S. Justice Department investigation involving the Sheriff's Department about housing discrimination against Black residents. So I'm just wondering how these kind of historical implications in these communities is going to aid in the investigation. Kind of what are you going to do to make sure that the voices of the community who are looking and saying, hey, these things have happened here, pointing to patterns, how is that going to be heard?
Well, the matter of fact is they already have been heard. As you can tell just by the public outcry and the concerns voiced by the community, we're taking all the necessary steps to make sure we're fully transparent and we're cross-referencing all of our activities, all of our investigative efforts with both the Attorney General's office and the FBI, the Civil Rights Division of the FBI here in Los Angeles. So we're making the effort to make sure that what we're doing is exactly the way it's supposed to be done when we're doing a death investigation. And the medical examiner, which is a neutral third party, their job is just to investigate the cause and manner in which people end up dying. And that is part of the process. And I know due to the recent issues of not only the concerns in the high desert community, but also with across the nation, the issues of civil unrest and concerns about police conduct, is that we have to make sure that we're supporting institutions that are working and serving the community. And when things are not working, we have to identify them, we have to fix them, reform them. But undermining institution because of lawful activities are engaged in, we can't do that either. That doesn't serve a lawful purpose. So we've been working, we have a consent decree with the Department of Justice. It was entered specifically because of that housing authority issue. And I don't think that was a plan that was well thought out, and that happened before I took office as sheriff. I think the reforms have been put in place. They're working to date, and of course some of that requires funding from the Board of Supervisors. So we need to be able to afford to continue with those reform efforts. And it's an ongoing process. And but we're suffering along with the community in Palmdale and Lancaster for the tragic loss of this innocent life.
Okay, you've been listening to the briefing as the sheriff answers the call of many protesters to look more deeply into the June 10th death of Robert Fuller. The coroner continuing to say over and over that there was never an official ruling, and so he has said we've deferred the eventual cause of death. And so it's just an incredibly troubling moment, and I think you can tell by this press conference.
Right. And again, the sheriff saying that he has consulted with Javier Becerra and the FBI and is asking them to monitor the investigation. Okay, so we're going to continue to move forward here on Eyewitness News. We want to remind you to join us tomorrow for an ABC 7 Eyewitness News special. Mark Brown will host From Protests to Progress, a conversation on the future of race, justice, and social equality or social equity in Southern California. It starts tomorrow night at 7. You can watch it on ABC 7. ABC 7.
The conversations initially went well. We had several phone conversations with them, and we had planned to have a sit-down meeting with them yesterday, but they were unable to attend. So we're still trying to set up a face-to-face meeting with all of his family members.
Thank you. And to the phone operator, please do not mute my phone. Sheriff, I want to ask real quick. I asked you earlier about the caseworker, and you said that you were trying to find the caseworker. My question was, what type of a caseworker was it? Why did Mr. Fuller need a caseworker? Also, to the coroner, you've been tap dancing around this question that my colleagues and I have been asking, and that's what did you find at the scene or on that person that would lead you to believe initially that was suicide? I mean, you had to have something specific that led you to that initial conclusion. And also to either Detectives Wegener or Dean, did you get any information from the family that would lead you to why Mr. Fuller did this?
Let me answer the first part real quick. The caseworker is from the Department of Public Social Services. So he was receiving some form of a benefit from the county, and as a result, he's assigned a caseworker. Exactly what the nature of that was, we don't know, but we know it's DPSS is the department involved. So I'll defer from here.
Thank you. Again, to the point about what would have led us to believe that the death might have been a suicide at the beginning was more the lack of any evidence that there was any foul play at the time. That's about all I can say. I mean, it was he was hanging, and there was no other information to suggest that there was foul play at the time. So further investigation is ongoing, but that's why we were thinking in that direction early on.
Regarding the conversation with the family, whether or not there was a motive on the part of the victim to commit suicide, that information that we did receive, although brief, is being followed up on, and until we can verify the credibility of that, we're not going to comment on it.
Thank you. And going to the line of Stephanie Dazio, Associated Press.
Oh.
Hi, thanks so much. I'm curious if you've reached out to the authorities in Victorville to see if there's any potential nexus, or if there's, what characteristics might be similar. Obviously, both families are saying that there might have been foul play. Any potential? Are you looking into the avenue that there may be one person who could have committed both acts if it turns out to be the case that neither was suicide?
We'll have conversation with them.
We will definitely have conversations with them, and that'll be part of the thoroughness of the investigation itself. Let me take this time to switch to Spanish, y para los televidentes en español. Aquí estamos. Primero, extender las condolencias a la familia de Robert Fuller, un joven de apenas 24 años que trágicamente murió el 10 de junio, fue declarado muerto y fue encontrado con aparentemente lo que parece ser un suicidio. Y eso fue la determinación inicial. Pero ahora los médicos forenses están tomando todas las precauciones, están haciendo una investigación completa junto a los investigadores del Bureau de Homicidios del Departamento de Alguacil. Y están tomando toda la evidencia, pero hasta hoy en día no ha encontrado ninguna evidencia que fuera algo además, más allá de un suicidio. Pero el caso está activamente siendo